Hello, and thank you for taking part in Battery Theatre and the Ridges film project. Over the next 2 weeks, you're going to be given four projects to do, four filming projects, and you're going to use these to tell the story of the children who were evacuated to Dunbar and East Lothian during the Second World War. As you probably know, this year is the 75th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. And not only were children evacuated to Dunbar from the likes of Glasgow and Edinburgh, and some even from cities in the northeast of England, like Newcastle and Sunderland, but we also know that children were evacuated, Jewish children were evacuated from Germany as part of the Kindertransport, who went through a very perilous journey to get to East Lothian to safety. So that's what we want to do. Over these four projects, we're going to tell the story of these evacuee children, and we're going to put all our films together and we're going to have our own film that we've made, and we're going to premiere it on the Ridges and also on Battery's Facebook pages in just under 2 weeks' time. So what have you got to do? Well, as I say, it's four filming projects, and what I want you to do is to tell the story of an evacuee. I will, in this email, give you links to various websites where you can find out more about what it was like to be an evacuee during the Second World War. You may have already covered some of this in school as well, and please go do your own research and find out more about what it was like as well. Speak to any friends or family that might know more about it as well. And once you've figured out who your evacuee character is, you need to find out where they're from. Are they from a city in Scotland? Are they from a city in England? Or have they come from further away? Have they come from Germany, perhaps? Or maybe somewhere else. If on your research you find out more about evacuees who were evacuated to Scotland from other parts of the world, maybe you want to decide to tell their story. So that's who you're going to play. And what you want you to do is, over these four films, to tell their story. Okay, so what I want you to do in this first film is to be a letter home. And I want this to be your evacuee arriving in East Lothian, in Dunbar, for the first time. They've just left wherever it is that they're from, and they've arrived in this strange place by the sea, and they don't really know where they are. They feel scared, they miss their family, they maybe don't quite understand what people are saying or really what things are. And this film is to be about 2 to 3 minutes long, and it's you talking to the camera, telling your loved ones back home about what it's like being in this strange new place, and some of the things you've encountered and experienced already. So, first things first, once you've figured out who your character is, how old they are, where they've come from, what journey they've been on to get there, I then want you to write your script. So you need to write out what your character is going to say to the camera. You need to figure out their name. You need to figure out maybe the names of their friends and family who they miss from home. You maybe need to figure out the names of the people that they're living with, and work this all into your story that you can then deliver in your film. So once you've written this script down, go through it, see if things make sense, maybe show it to some of the other people that you're living with as well, see if it makes sense to them and they can give some feedback and you can fix it a bit more. Now you have your script. Now you need to figure out how it's going to look when you film it. So you need to storyboard it. Now I'll include some examples of storyboards on this email for you to print out at home so you can actually draw your own. But basically a storyboard looks a bit like a page from a comic book, but each square is blank, and in each square you need to do a little drawing of each different moment in your film. So that could be first moment, Philip is talking to camera, second moment, Philip picks up his phone, and each little moment like that, so you can plot out your film before you film it. Maybe your film is just a straight person talking to camera, there is no other actions in it, but maybe there's quite a few actions in it, so you need to plan each of these out before you film. Then you need to think of costume. Remember, this is taking place in the 1930s and the 1940s, so you need to be wearing a costume that would feel typical to then. Now, you may not have a lot to choose from at home. So just try and think of what you've got at home, or maybe what you could borrow from friends or family that you could wear that would look the part. So things that are really simple, things like a shirt, or maybe a nice jumper that doesn't, again, and nothing that looks too 21st century. You want to try and look as much 1930s and as 1940s as possible. If you wear quite modern glasses like me, if you feel comfortable, you might want to take them off for when you're filming your piece to camera. Okay, so your costume's sorted. Now you need to think of your set. Now, as this one's just a straight piece to camera, you only really have to think about what's behind you. So again, you want to make sure that there isn't anything too modern behind you. Now, if you've got a very plain background like me, then that would be fine. I just had a white wall behind me. But what I've done is I've printed out some 1940s propaganda posters. I've got a Dig for Victory, and I've got a Careless Talk Cost Lives poster there. Again, I can include links to these. I got these from the Imperial War Museum website. They were free. I just printed them out. And again, it just gives a bit more of a look behind me there. So that's your set. Okay, then you need to rehearse it, and rehearse it again, and rehearse it again, and rehearse it in front of the people that you're living with as well. And make sure it looks really good, it makes sense, and that it's about 2 to 3 minutes long. It cannot be longer than 3 minutes. There's going to be a lot of different films in here, so we need to make sure that everybody's story gets told. Okay? Once you've rehearsed it and you feel really comfortable with it, then you need to think about filming it. Now, you could film it on a phone or an iPad or a tablet. I'm filming this on my iPad. If you are filming it on your phone or your iPad, make sure you film it in the landscape format. So that's like this. Don't film it in the portrait format, okay? You want to film it like this, and that way we're using up the whole screen there and it looks more cinematic, more like an actual film. You also need to find a nice, quiet place to film it as well. Maybe say to the people you're living with, look everyone, I'm going to go film my little film to camera now. Can you all be quiet for the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes please while I film this? Make sure people aren't doing noisy things. Dad, I'm making my film. Sorry, my dad was hoovering, sorry. Make sure you find a nice, quiet spot to film it in. Have a chat with your friends, with your family first. Make sure that they're all nice and quiet too while you're filming it, and there's no background music or noise, and that we can just hear your voice, okay? So, once you've got all that ready and you've filmed it, then you need to send it to me. I'll include links and info in the email on how you can send it to me. You can either email it to me or you can use a file transfer service, and then you've made your first film. You're going to have a few days to make this, so don't worry, you don't have to do it all in one night. You've got some time to actually think about it and prepare. Remember, you want this to look as good as it possibly can, because it's going to be part of a much bigger film, okay? And all that's left for you to do is get started. Good luck, everyone, and I can't wait to see the films you make.